Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hammer Territory podcast. This is episode 333, a nice round number of sorts. My name is Brad Rowland, and I'm joined on this Sunday afternoon / evening edition of the podcast by my usual co-host. His name is Scott Coleman. Scott, spring training is officially underway. Everybody's there that needs to be there. In general, that should mean that hope springs eternal and people are feeling good. That's not the way Brave spring training has begun. But how are you? How are we feeling?
Hello, Brad. It's funny. We knew we were going to record a show today. And in my mind, I'm like, you know what? Let's be upbeat. Let's be positive. There's been a lot of bad news with the Braves lately, but there was some good news on Ha-Seong Kim. And we're going to still talk about that. We're going to talk about the outfield in depth and all this. And then not even an hour before we were scheduled to record, we get the latest Braves injury news with Hurston Waldrep has an elbow problem. We can't win. I mean, literally, you can't go more than like 48 hours at this point without some kind of injury news to a Braves pitcher. At some point, it has to end, right? Right? Like, goodness gracious.
In theory, it should end. And let us timestamp this. We usually record on Sundays, but it's a holiday weekend, and people are a little bit off on Monday. Some people are off for President's Day. If you're coming to this on Tuesday morning, just know this: we recorded this on Sunday afternoon. It's 4:00 Eastern on Sunday. Let's be positive, as you just laid out in the first segment, but you teased out later on. We'll get to Waldrep and all what's going on there. First, though, let's begin on a high note. Number one, the Braves play a spring training game this week. They play a game on Saturday, so that's real life baseball. We like baseball on this podcast. It'll be nice to watch that. Also, there was an announcement this week about Gray Media in partnership with MLB.TV, I believe, broadcasting 15 spring training games for the Braves. That's more than usual. So if you're itching like we are to watch baseball, you can. Gray Media is a southeastern product, I believe. A lot of markets, though. Scott, I'm not sure you have Gray Media in your market in Arizona, but
It's crazy, Brad. I actually used to work for Gray TV for a hot minute. My first job out of college out
of
here in
course you did.
Arizona. Yeah, of course. It was like the only West Coast station Gray television had, but alas, there you go. So I know Gray. When I saw them, I'm like, oh, interesting. But you're right. They're very regional, very southeast.
Most of the markets are anyway. But yeah, look, there's baseball coming this week. Does it count? No. But that does give you a little bit of optimism. And if you are new to this podcast, we should say at the top, we are part of Hammer Territory. We are part of Foul Territory. We are called Hammer Territory. We cover the Braves all year round. Please subscribe. Tell your friends about the podcast. We definitely appreciate you being here. But as you just laid out, there is some positive updates beyond spring training on Ha-Seong Kim. So Alex Anthopoulos spoke to the media over the weekend on a number of different things. Not all positive, but some positive. And he uses, I'm just going to read the quote to you about Ha-Seong Kim from Alex. Quote, "We are hopeful and optimistic that he'll be back at the beginning of May." End quote. So that's not a bad update on Ha-Seong Kim. There's been a lot of uncertainty, I would say, in particular with Kim and Sean Murphy. Just very vague timelines being thrown around, kind of willy-nilly, not a lot of specific from the Braves. Understandable, but Kim is not on the 60-day IL. That's a positive sign. That means he can come back as soon as he wants to be. And, beginning of May, does that mean May 1st? Probably not. But if you can get him back in the first half of May versus like some of the doomsday stuff that we saw thrown around, like, oh, we'll see you in June, like that. Nobody ever said July or anything like that. But Alex coming out and saying that, not an accident, at least in my opinion. So does that mean he definitely will be back at the beginning of May? No, but it's a timeline that was more encouraging than what we maybe had thought it could be at one point.
Yeah, definitely encouraging for Kim. And I mean, let's get that guy back because with Ha-Seong Kim at shortstop, this lineup looks much better. The overall just kind of offensive portrait of this team with Mauricio Dubon available and free to be off the bench, everything just looks better with Ha-Seong Kim at shortstop. And also the fact that the Braves did not put Kim on the 60-day IL at the start of spring was obviously encouraging because that would have taken him out through basically the end of May. So if the Braves are only going to miss 5-6 weeks without Kim at shortstop, I think you have to take it, especially for just such a freak injury of him slipping on ice and tearing a finger tendon after slipping on ice. I mean, come on. It's very on par for what we've dealt with the last couple of years. sure, you'd love to have Kim out there on opening day, but if he's back by early mid-May, I think you take it as a win, and hopefully he's also able to hit the ground running and not have too long of a ramp-up period before he starts to be productive.
I would guess that if the Braves knew he was going to miss a month and a half, he would have gotten less money in free agency. But as a reminder, the deal was signed and then this happened. It was not the other way around. So I get it. It's brutal. We talked about it at the time. It's like, what has to happen here? I mean, come on. But having Dubon really helps. Alex, some of this is GM speak for sure. But Alex did say like they were okay going into the season with Dubon at shortstop. And I heard the same thing. Before they signed Kim, we talked about on the pod, like they didn't want to start Dubon at shortstop, but like they would have. They were okay enough with that, which is reasonable. I preferred to have a better spot there than Dubon. And I think his best role is utility as you lay out. But he is a starting caliber player when he's asked to be there. He can play defense. His bat is not a zero. Like all of that is good. So they have the ability to kind of bridge the gap. Like it's not going to be a total unknown playing shortstop, which is definitely part of the calculus of why you're maybe a little bit more positive about this. But like you said, everything looks and feels better when Kim is in there. And he isn't a star, but he's a good player. I mean, I saw Zips projected him for like a 2-win player, even while only playing like 110 games. He's a good player. Like that's not a star, but it's a really good player. And I think he will help everything kind of slot back into where it should be. And hopefully that comes, on May 6th rather than June 6th.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Mauricio Dubon, first of all, he was highly regarded as a fantastic clubhouse guy in Houston. And that'll be great to have. Dubon had a great interview this week with media. If folks missed it, he had a great story about growing up in Honduras, watching the Braves on TBS as a kid, as so many people did. Talked about being a little starstruck the first time he got to meet Chipper Jones in 2023. And Chipper was like a hero and Andrew was a hero growing up. So worth finding that. I know it's on Twitter. But, Dubon, elite glove. I mean, very, very good defender. And I think I would agree that, sure, the Braves could have rolled Dubon out there as their everyday shortstop as kind of a better version of Nick Allen, even if the bat is pretty limited. But Dubon, as a refresher, he does some things well. His career, he's a 283 hitter with a 111 WRC plus and about a 750 OPS against lefties. You can work with that. That's pretty darn good for a middle infielder. The challenge, of course, is that against righties, he's a 246 hitter with a 75 WRC plus. So I think the Braves are going to be smart and diligent with how they use Dubon. It also sounds like they might have him bounce around even without Kim. And then, of course, when Kim comes back, you'll have Dubon, assuming everybody else is mostly healthy. You're going to have Dubon available to bounce around and play all over the diamond, which is really kind of the vision whenever they acquired him and signed Kim.
Yeah, and you have Jorge Mateo. They went and got Brett Wisely. Like they got some names. It's still Dubon playing shortstop, I would imagine, every day or close to every day while Kim is out. We'll get into this a little bit later for a second. I could see a world in which Dubon plays some left field later in the season against lefties. Like you just lay out the platoon split. I can see a world where maybe they don't want to have, something, Yastrzemski can't play against lefties, all that stuff. And maybe you have Profar DH on a day. I'm not saying regularly, but like Dubon can play some corner outfield too if he needs to.
Yeah.
Like he's a true super utility. So just something to keep an eye on. But that platoon split's worth monitoring, and the glove is quite good, especially for backup infielder standards. Like he's a good player.
Yeah. And that was something that both Walt Weiss and Alex Anthopoulos talked about this first week of spring training, that on the offensive side, knock on wood, assuming everybody is healthy or mostly healthy. Which
a wild assumption here on February 15th, Scott, I got to say. But I'm with you.
It feels like a reckless assumption at this point to assume that any Atlanta Brave is going to be healthy this season. But if and when they have most of the lineup healthy, there is a significant amount of versatility and flexibility with this roster, this lineup, this bench. That's something Weiss and Anthopoulos both talked about as well. It's something we've talked about on the podcast. So fingers crossed, we get to that point where you really are able to play matchups really well. Maybe you're seeing a really good lefty. Well, then you're prepared. If you're facing a really good righty, you have options. I think that's ultimately the best way to build a lineup. And we'll see how it ultimately plays out this summer.
This might come across as cope, and perhaps it is to some degree, but I actually believe it. people are generally undervaluing the difference in depth that this team has. Now, does that solve every problem for you? No, it does not. You'd rather have stars. You'd rather have guys being awesome every day. I'm not saying otherwise, but especially last season, like we have seen the downside when depth is not present, and they do have depth on this roster. On the position, crucially, on the position player side, they have depth on the roster, and I think Dubon is part of that. Kim's part of that when he comes back. We'll see. But anyway, that a genuinely positive update on Kim. Of course, fingers crossed that he doesn't have any setbacks along the way. I always push back on like maximum timetables because nothing's a maximum timetable. Anybody can get re-injured. Like, be cautious as guys return. But Alex coming out and saying that, not an accident, I wouldn't say. So they're probably feeling pretty good about Kim. Oh, also in that same interview, Alex did add that the Braves believe Sean Murphy, quote, will probably be back sometime in May. That's not a huge step forward, but that's not a step backwards either. It's a relatively on timetable, and similar to Kim. There were some doomsday thoughts about Murphy that were making the rounds, like, oh, he'll be back at the no, like sometime in May is about what it was supposed to be all along. Not, well, I shouldn't say all along. The second iteration. Originally, it was back for spring training, which is clearly not happening. But this is not like a huge setback. That's actually kind of what we thought, at least the last few weeks anyway, about Murphy.
Yeah. And they signed Jonah Heim, who is very likely going to be the backup to Baldwin. And Heim is a real major league catcher. He was bad last season, but he's had good years before.
He's like the exact kind of guy that we thought they were going to sign. Like once it became clear Murphy was going to miss the beginning of the season,
yeah,
they had to sign somebody, and I think Heim is like the better version of what that player could be.
Absolutely.
He might be bad, but like he might be good. So we'll see.
And realistic, I mean, especially early in the year, I think Drake Baldwin's going to play 6 days a week, maybe 7 if they. I mean, who knows? We'll see what it ultimately is, but.
How much he catches, we will see, but he's going to be in the lineup as much as humanly possible early in the year. Oh, yeah. You have to guess.
Totally. Yeah. And Heim can more than handle his own behind the plate. And then when Sean Murphy comes back in May, you probably have a decision to make if you want to carry 3 catchers or if you only want to carry 2 and say goodbye to Heim. These things have a way of playing themselves out.
Yes, they do, Scott. Okay. We promised everyone we'd be positive in the first segment. We did that. We accomplished our goal of being positive for a segment. In a second, Scott, a little bit less positivity about Hurston Waldrep and that update. A little bit of more neutral on Jurickson Profar. We'll get into that stuff and more after a word from our partners. Okay, Scott, let us discuss Hurston Waldrep, which is the big news on this Sunday and not in a good direction. If you missed it, Waldrep, who had this great second half of the season last year, came up and was a revelation, honestly. Like, it was impressive at one of the few bright spots late last season. He throws a bullpen. I think it was his first bullpen or first live BP or something over the weekend. And a couple days later, it comes out from Walt Weiss that he was sore after throwing, and an MRI that was undergone right away revealed that the ligament in the elbow is fine. That's a positive. But he has, quote, loose bodies in his throwing elbow. Now, Weiss is pretty folksy in his interview. If people probably see this, we've seen this by now. He's kind of playing it off, and he's right. He's not a medical expert. He's getting asked about specifics. He's like, I don't really know, kind of thing. But he did say later on in that discussion that that the elbow, quote, probably needs to be dealt with, end quote. Kind of ominous. We don't really know, but we do know Walter's going to see Dr. Keith. Is it Meister? Is it Meester? I don't know. One of those two. A renowned elbow expert in Texas. So they've sent him to Texas. I'll be seeing him on Monday. So keep in mind, we're recording this Sunday afternoon, and Weiss, I think 4 times in the interview said, we'll find out more Monday. So we don't know we don't know right now. Not great news. It doesn't mean he's going to be out for the season. We don't know that right now, anything like that. But we know that if you have loose bodies and you're getting an MRI, you're not going to be pitching on Tuesday. So thoughts on this? This is just like when it rains, it pours. I don't know.
It really does. And I think it's probably fair to say that you can expect to not have Waldrep on opening day. Like, I would be very surprised now if you have Waldrep on the opening day roster.
Especially when you factor in he was already a potential non-opening day guy because he's got options.
Yeah.
I think we are in agreement. He was gonna have to be awesome in spring probably to be on the opening day roster, and he can't be awesome if he can't pitch.
Right, sadly. And, we'll know more. I don't want to speculate too much on it, but,
Yeah.
loose bodies in the elbow, that's something that has been around. Like some pitchers have had that. I think Sean Manaea dealt with that with the Mets last year. I think Garrett Cole dealt with this a couple of years ago with the Yankees. Like it's a known thing. Um, Usually it's not too long of a recovery period. We'll have to ultimately see if they feel like a surgery procedure is needed. If he has to have surgery, what kind of surgery is it? You mentioned it's good that the UCL is intact. You would let's cross our fingers and pray that a major surgery is not needed, because that would just be another just absolutely devastating blow. But it sucks. And Waldrep was such a revelation in August and September last year. Really talented kid, was a first round pick, a lot of pedigree. Took him a while to figure things out in the minor leagues. But then, I mean, he was as impressive can be the last 10 starts of the year last year with Atlanta. In my mind, before we had the injury note, I was kind of thinking that Waldrep was actually going to be in the opening day rotation because of the injury to Schwellenbach and just the lack of talent otherwise, healthy talent otherwise. But now, let's cross our fingers. Maybe you get Waldrep back. I don't know, late April, May, something like that. It's again total speculation, but it just sucks, man. Like, what have we done to deserve this, Brad? Like, I know the Braves exercised a lot of goodwill during the 2021 World Series, but over the last like 24 months, man, I mean, it's just been one thing after another, after another, after another.
It has been. And, I did a very millennial thing when I saw the news and posted the old Dumb and Dumber, our pets are falling off, our pets' heads are falling off gif. And that's what it feels like right now, to your point. And, I know people are frustrated. We'll talk about the rotation in a second. I did a little Googling, and I want to be careful about Googling about injury stuff because we're not experts. But just for comparison's sake, Carlos Rodon had a loose bodies like arthroscopic surgery procedure at the end of the season, and is like on track to begin the season. It seems like. And granted, that's the offseason, so you have 3 months or 4 months to ramp up. But this is it's one of those. If there is a procedure, it will probably be arthroscopic in nature and not some like 6-month injury. You would hope. And Weiss did emphasize multiple times that the ligament, from what they've seen on the MRI, is intact. So that's the biggest thing. But yeah, it's brutal. I could certainly have seen a scenario. It's been funny how much we talked about this in the last week or two. But pre-Schwellenbach injury, it was like, hey, Waldrep probably won't be in their opening day rotation because he might be the best option, but Alex likes flexibility, right? We said that a number of times. Schwelly goes down. It's like, okay, now it's more conceivable, even more likely, perhaps. They still didn't have to do it. Alex did say, I want you to talk about this now, I guess. Alex did give comments. This is pre-Waldrep injury. So this is over the weekend before we knew. Some stuff that was expected, that you and I, by the way, did a show on Thursday. People can listen to that show, still relevant at this point in time, reacting to Schwellenbach and some other stuff, right? And Alex echo what we said. Essentially, it's Sale, Strider, Holmes, and Lopez, if they're healthy, are locked in. We knew that, but that he said it out loud, which means the fifth spot's a competition. It was going to include Waldrep. Maybe it still does. We'll see. Elder, Joey Wentz, Martin Perez. Alex mentioned Carlos Carrasco, which I thought was funny, but he's on there. He's in sprint training. It's just him being due diligence, I guess. But without the desire to beat this dead horse once again, and you reminded me to not do this, Alex did we wanted a frontline starter routine, and I think I won't speak for you. I'll speak for myself, Scott. I was punching air during that segment because I know why he's saying that. There's some CTA, there's some CYA involved. I get that. That is not a serious viewpoint, in my opinion. That's absurd. I get it. I get the thought of it. But by the way, none of this is revisions. If we have new listeners, we have been banging the table about the Braves adding a starter the entire offseason. So this is everybody's coming to us now, Scott. we were already here. Everybody's coming to us now. And look, we didn't know that Schwellenbach was going to get hurt. We didn't know any of that. But if you play the percentages, you get injuries with rotations, which is part of the reason why we talked about this. Yeah. But I just was frustrated. I just want to acknowledge that this happened. Alex did we wanted a frontline starter bit. I never thought that was a real thing. That idea never sat well with me. I understand that you want to add ideally someone who can change your life as a rotation. And he kind of talked about that, like, hey, you can never have too much pitching. Yes, correct. If you could have gotten Framber Valdez to say, yeah, we wanted to sign him. Great. Bring him in. You didn't do that. That does not mean, this is me talking now, that does not mean you don't add anybody.
Right.
That's my opinion. Did you have the same reaction I did or similar one? Because that was my reaction. Like, come on, Alex. Like, I know what you mean, but the situation has changed now. We don't have to act like this is not the same. It's not the same thing. It's just not.
Yes. And look, I tweeted this on Saturday, got a lot of engagement. I think most people agreed with the sentiment, but I'll say it now. Alex Anthopoulos, for the tenure that he has been the Braves general manager, has been very good at his job. If you would have told us, or a Braves fan on the street, that in late 2017, when the Braves hired Alex Anthopoulos in wake of John Coppolella getting banned for life, and I would say, listen, Brad, over the next 8 years, the Braves would win the division 6 times, they would go to the playoffs 7 times, and they would win the World Series. There is not a Braves fan on earth who would say no to a World Series and 7 playoff appearances over the next 8 years. Every single time. And sure, Alex doesn't get all the credit. He didn't inherit an exhibition team or a first year franchise, and he built it from the absolute studs. But the point stands. For better or worse, he gets credit and he gets blame. But this talking point about only adding a frontline rotation playoff starter is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. And you add the fact in that this guy, Alex, is Mr. Cautious in free agency. He never gives out a contract that we're like, oh man, good player, but that's a big contract. He has never done that in free agency. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say that you only want to add a frontline playoff starter, but then also turtle up whenever a team wants 5 of your top prospects for a good pitcher, or not go 7 years and $200 million for Dylan Cease, or give Framber Valdez a big signing bonus and pay him $30 million a year. You can't have it both ways. So we'll see now. There's nothing. I mean, there is nothing out there. There's a couple of like number 5 starters. And again, we said it on the show the other day, I have a hard time seeing a trade on February 15th, maybe, but
well, and you're operating, I promise this is not a defense of the front office now. You're operating from a position of desperation, and teams know that. And Alex is stubborn enough where he's not going to give a price that he doesn't believe is warranted price. Like, there should be urgency, in my opinion. I think you share that sentiment right now with pitching. But Alex has not shown the willingness to be urgent, or at least not desperate. Maybe urgency and desperation have a different differentiation there. But yeah, no, I'm with you. We don't have to talk about this a ton more. It's just, it was annoying to me then. And he talked about not wanting to block guys and how if you give out a contract or whatever, that guy's a guaranteed rotation spot. Yes, they are, but they had flexibility. They had Grant Holmes and Ronaldo Lopez, either of whom could have been in the bullpen if they wanted to bring in more pitching and able to go back and forth. Ronaldo Lopez has not thrown an inning in a year. Grant Holmes is currently coming off of a no surgery elbow injury. And then anyway, we did this all on Thursday. So listen to Thursday's show. On that show, we talked about 3 guys with like major league track records that were still available. One of them has signed already. Zach Gallen is back on Arizona. By the way, for exactly the qualifying offer. It wasn't the qualifying offer, but exactly the same price. That's funny to me because it just feel like he had nothing. I mean, I think Bowman wrote today that Gallen, it was determined, was not a fit in Atlanta. I mean, not a fit for giving up a draft pick, certainly. I understood that one, by the way. That's the only pitcher this entire cycle when I'm like, you know what, Braves, I'm fine not signing Zach Gallen.
Yeah.
That was the only one.
Yep.
Because like if it was Valdez or Ranger Suarez or Dylan Cease, I don't care. Give away the draft pick. Fine. Don't care. Gallen was the only one where I was like, probably not. The whole time.
Yeah.
So with that said, Gallen's off the market now, and you're down to Lucas Giolito, and you're down. It's
Zach Littell,
who I did a bid on, and I would sign Zach Littell today. I would. I'm not saying throw a parade. By the way, I said that on Thursday, so it's worse now than it was then. So if I wanted to sign him Thursday, I'd still want to sign him now.
Yeah.
but he's not inspiring at all. Like I know he's not. It's fine. It's just an innings eater. That's all that is.
This is like going to a high school dance, and all the boys are on one side of the gym, and all the girls are on the other side of the gym.
This is good. I like this.
And the Braves are the shy dude, the shy fella in the corner who doesn't want to go out and ask the pretty girl to dance. Meanwhile, everybody else is pairing up and they're going out to dance, and you're like the last person waiting, and there's only a couple girls left, and you're like, well, these are my options. I mean, that's what situation the Braves are in now. Yep. I counted the transaction log for like notable signings and trades this offseason. About 20 decent to great starting pitchers have moved this offseason. 20 of them. The Braves weren't involved with any of them. Signings, trades.
Yeah.
Now there's like two incredibly boring fifth starters who would help. Like, don't get me wrong, if the Braves sign Lucas Giolito on Monday morning, of course, he's better than some of the options they have now, but it's not inspiring. You're not going to think about World Series tickets by any means. It's just, it's frustrating that we're at this point.
Yeah. And I know there are some very enthusiastic Hurston Waldrep fans that have often come at us to say, where's Waldrep on the list? And they don't need pitching because they have Waldrep. And I get it. There was always the part of the fan base that wanted to just list a bunch of names for us. Even if you were in that part, which we didn't agree with at any point, the list is a lot shorter now, guys. Like, they're down to 4 interesting starting pitchers, and all of them have injury concern. All of them. The healthy one is Spencer Strider. How funny is that? The healthiest starting pitcher is Spencer Strider, who just missed a bunch of time. And anyway, we'll see, man. It's funny because we won't do the whole preview now again, but the Braves are still, I want to say, like 10th or 11th or something in Fangraphs depth charts projections. Like, there's a world in which this group that they have right now is decent or better. That exists. Because if they do get a little bit of good fortune, insert laugh track.
Yeah,
they actually can be pretty good still. But I don't want to assume that they have to have decent health. Like, they're not going to have that probably. So
sure, yeah, we are going to be tiptoeing a very, very, very thin wire and holding on for dear life. If Chris Sale can stay healthy, and that is an enormous if. And if Spencer Strider can bounce back after a normal offseason and be more of the consistent Spencer Strider, maybe they get mostly healthy years from Holmes and Lopez. Maybe Spencer Schwellenbach is back by like mid-June. Maybe we get good news on Waldrop's elbow and he's back in 8 weeks or something like that. Those are all realistic outcomes. They could happen. But man alive, I mean, we are going to be praying every single night that we don't lose another pitcher between now and basically the end of September, because we are so thin to begin with. And it's just, we're going to be hanging on, Brad. It's going to be pins and needles for a lot of it.
The Braves currently need, and I use the term need on purpose, the Braves currently need the good Bryce Elder. That's not where you want to be. You don't want to have to be relying on that. And the Braves actually do need like the better version of Bryce Elder to show up. Not what you want. Okay, Scott, in a second, let's discuss Jurickson Profar and some interesting injury revelations, DH talk, etc. after a word from our partners. Okay, Scott, Jurickson Profar in the news. And this will kind of be our DH capsule to some degree, because he's kind of the only guy on the team that's a DH. Anyway, it came out this weekend that Profar had sports hernia surgery back in November. And I know it happened to at least one of our co-hosts. It happened to me too. I saw that part of the news, and I thought, you've got to be kidding me. He's going to be out for 2 months. Then I kept reading and said, oh, this already happened. Thank God this already happened. But back in November, this happened. It was a 6-week recovery time from what the Braves have said. He is full go for training camp. Spring training, all fine, great. He said he felt this in September originally, which could explain part of why he was a little bit rough at the end of the season. Because if you have a sports hernia, you're a baseball player. If you're a hitter, that's going to be really bad for you. Ask anyone who's ever had an oblique injury how hard that is if you're a hitter. Not the exact same thing, but it's relatively similar. Anyway, that was, I don't know if that's good news, but it's like news. Did you have a reaction to that news that came out? Because it's like, okay, that's step one of this. Thoughts?
I had the exact same reaction that you did. When I saw that tweet this morning that Profar underwent sports hernia surgery, I thought, oh my Lord, I would have totally crashed. I would have crashed out like you
And that
wouldn't
was
believe.
before Waldrep too. So if it would have been Profar and then Waldrep within like an hour of each other, it was like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah. So in this case, we lucked out, and only one of our impact pieces is currently very
Right.
questionable moving forward. Yeah, I mean, sure, the fact that Profar had the surgery probably in early October, I would guess he should be fully cleared from that. And a really important hitter in this lineup, really, really important. We saw, I mean, when Profar came back after the PED suspension, it was hard to really predict anything. Like,
Yeah.
he comes off this monster year with the Padres, and then he gets popped for PEDs. And I believe it was like a fertility PED thing. And I don't want to speculate too much. He's married and all that. I don't know. Maybe it was an honest to goodness mistake. Maybe. But whenever a guy comes off a career year and then gets popped for PEDs on a Padres team that had some PED abusers in the past, it was like, oh boy, the Braves just gave 3 years to a guy who, cheated his way to a really good career year in 2024. Of course, Profar was great after the suspension. He was one of the more consistent hitters on the team, had like an 800 OPS, which was very needed. Switch hitter, gets on base. Those are all things that are really going to elevate this lineup this upcoming season, assuming that he's able to continue that level of production. And hopefully, I can't imagine he'll have after effects of a sports hernia surgery from 4 months ago. But, good to have Profar, and hopefully he's ready to roll.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that everyone was very like, no, he's good to go. There's no like easy guy. If he was still easing into spring training, I would be a little worried. But the fact that he's already good seems like it's not a big problem. That's part one. Scary news, but not scary anymore. He was asked about kind of being the primary DH in a scrum, and some of the tweets did not do him any favors. I would recommend watching the entire exchange. He originally kind of didn't seem thrilled with the idea of DHing. And I'll stop here by saying this, Scott. I don't know if this popped into your head like it did for me. Most guys don't want to DH. Most guys think that these are confident professional athletes. They don't want to think, hey, I'm so bad in the field that I have to DH.
Yeah.
Which is basically the message, right? And some guys figure it out quickly that they kind of have to do that. I think Marcell Ozuna understood at some point, like, hey, I can't play left field anymore.
Yeah.
I have to just
Kyle Schwarber said, the money's in me just hitting the crap out of the ball 4 times a night, and I'll sit on the bench and help my teammates look at video.
David Ortiz, like, there have been some guys who became DHs and were seemingly totally fine with it, right? I personally have no issue, and it's not surprising at all to me that Profar was not like thrilled to only have to DH. And by the way, no one said he's gonna play some outfield this year. He will be standing in left field. I can assure you at some point.
Oh yeah.
With that said, he also did say, it's why I recommend watching the entire clip. He did say that he would do whatever the club needed him to do. He's not refusing. It's not Rafael Devers where he's going to come in and like throw a fit. Like it's going to be fine. That was kind of a headline that I saw. It's like, guys, I get why he's not thrilled, but I think he probably understands. And also Walt Weiss said later on in the day after this interview with Profar came to light that I think Weiss said that Alex called Profar before they signed Yastrzemski and communicate with him like, hey, you're probably going to be DHing a lot during the season because they're bringing in an outfielder to kind of play sort of that spot. So no surprises by any means. But anyway, I don't want to speak for you, but that's a non-story to me. I get why it's a spring training thing. The media corps at spring training is actually bigger than the normal media corps. Everyone's down there right now. I get it. But as like kind of a shrug, it's like, hey, he's going to DH a lot. It's because he's a bad outfielder. That's what it is.
Yeah. He is. And I think you said it perfectly, where these are confident athletes who believe they're good at, everything they do. They play at the highest level. But defensively last season for Profar was an adventure, to be nice. The eye test wasn't good. The metrics were bad.
He's better than Marcell. That's the nicest thing I can say about him. He's better than Marcell.
Yeah. Profar was bottom 10 percentile in range by outs above average. He has an okay arm, but he's not Ronald Acuna out there just throwing everybody out left and right. I think as we sit here today, without knowing what the baseball season will hold, if I had to bet money on who will log the most DH plate appearances for the Braves this upcoming year, I would put it on Jurickson Profar. But I think, especially knowing that it's no guarantee that Acuna stays healthy all year, and there's no guarantee that Michael Harris stays healthy all year, and even Mike Yastrzemski, who's in his mid-30s, is no guarantee to stay healthy all year and has very extreme platoon splits. I think it's inevitable that Profar will get some time in the outfield. All it takes is one injury to an outfielder other than Profar, and he's going to be playing out there most days, I think. And of course, we'll know more once Kim comes back. It frees up Dubon. How is Sean Murphy hitting and all of that? Like, there's a lot of factors that are going to play into this. But yeah, I think Profar is going to have to DH some. If he doesn't love it, then he should try to get better defensively, because he was just not very good last year out there. And it's, again, it just kind of goes back to the Braves are going to rotate through the DH a lot. And I think Profar will be there quite a bit, but he's also going to have opportunities in the outfield to be sure.
Yeah, Weiss talked about liking the flexibility at DH. Alex explained that as part of why they not necessarily didn't want to bring Marcell back, but like they weren't urgent to bring Marcell back because they kind of don't want the full-time DH archetype if they can help it. It's kind of funny. This is a decade ago now, but Profar was a shortstop coming up, and him being almost unplayable in a corner outfield spot after being a prospect shortstop is like crazy. Yeah. Within like 8 or 9 years.
And he's like 33 years old, I think.
That's he's not like he's 40. It is crazy how not great defensively he is. But anyway, I want to give you the quote on Alex that kind of covers a lot of this. So Alex said this 2 days ago. Quote, "Right now, with Sean Murphy being out, the thought is that Jurickson Profar will get the majority of DH at-bats against right-handers. Mike Yastrzemski would start in left field against right-handers. Against left-handers, Walt Weiss will move some things around." That's what we thought the entire time. But worth noting, like when Murphy comes back, there's a little bit of uncertainty because presumably the hope would be Murphy hits enough where you can DH ball win some. Basically, like they probably don't want to DH Murphy a lot, but you could DH Murphy some if he's raking, especially against lefties. Like in a perfect world, Murphy's like prime Murphy, and he and Yastrzemski can kind of just cross because Murphy mashes lefties historically. Yastrzemski mashes righties historically. Yay! Also, why I brought up this earlier with Dubon and Yastrzemski can kind of go the other way as well. Yastrzemski and Dubon have different platoon splits.
Michael Harris as well. I mean,
Michael Harris has a massive split. I mean, the problem with him is that he has to play every day defensively. He's the only center field, like real center fielder they have. I mean, if Michael's as bad as he's been at times, maybe he's not going to play every day, and they have to play Yastrzemski in center or something and just pray. Or maybe it's Dubon, or I don't know. But yeah, I think that they're going to give Michael enough leash where he's not going to just sit regularly against lefties. Maybe he will eventually, but I don't know. There is fluidity. There are different strengths and weaknesses. I thought it was just telling that Alex didn't hide it at all. He was basically like, hey, as long as Murphy's out, basically, Profar is the DH, and sometimes we'll get other situations. It makes sense. It's not none of this is surprising. It's just it's kind of just worth noting because I'm with you. You said already you think your belief is that Profar leads the team in DH plate appearances. I'm right there with you. But DH is kind of our DH preview. Like, how many names could you see taking DH plate appearances this year? I mean, we've named a lot already, but it's all right. Well, you got Profar, you got Murphy and Baldwin. That's 3. Acuna almost certainly will DH at some point this year. That's 4. Yastrzemski?
Yeah, at some point. I mean, Yastrzemski might. I think Riley will probably get a few days.
Riley a day off, something like that. So it's. Are we missing anybody else that might? Because like you don't want to DH Dubon or Kim. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
No.
And then I mean Olsen just plays every day at first, so I don't think you need to do anything with that. I could see Matt like, hey, we're going to give you a day to just not play defense. That wouldn't stun me, I guess. But even then, talk about 5-6 guys who are going to almost certainly play DH without anybody. They can also acquire someone midseason very easily. That's an archetype that's not exactly hard to find. Like bench bat types who can DH for you is not difficult to add. So, in fact, I know Steven's been saying this for a long time. The Braves could add a bench bat in the next 2 weeks that could help them at DH for cheap. It's very possible. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's like Reese Hoskins is still floating around. Like not.
Someone asked us about Castellanos. I mean, Castellanos just signed already. But we got a question. I don't know if you saw it to our Twitter that was like, should the Braves sign Nick Castellanos? And I'm like,
Yeah.
if it was cheap enough, then maybe, but like it wouldn't have been cheap enough. So no. But that kind of player, like I mean, we literally did a segment 2 weeks ago. Like, hey, if the price is low enough, they could probably sign Marcel and it'd be fine. It wasn't low enough. He got 8 figures from somebody else. So yeah, don't match that. But that kind of player could maybe help them.
Yeah, it's going to be a puzzle. And as we said off the top, with hopefully Ha-Seong Kim is back in early May, and then you have more of like kind of the big picture of your offense as constructed this offseason will be at Walt Weiss's disposal, and he can kind of build out his lineups various ways. If you're facing a really good lefty, you can stack your righties, and if you're facing a really good righty, you can try to stack your lefties, and also pinch hitting, which is kind of a lost art now in baseball with the DH. But if you're seeing a really good lefty starter that night, and then you're facing a righty reliever late in the game, well, that's Mike Yastrzemski's music. Like he's going to come up and hit for somebody. So it's I really do. I mean, for all the bad stuff, and even though there's been a lot of bad stuff this spring and even over the last month, but it does feel like this offense should have the more versatility and not result to have to playing Alex Verdugo and Brian De La Cruz. And even Nick Allen, as good as he was defensively, was, literally like the worst hitter I've ever seen. I mean, he good dude.
Listen, Alex Verdugo might have been worse than Nick Allen last year. He wasn't, but he might have been. The experience was worse. I'll tell you that. Yeah, I'm very sure who the bench bat is against righties. And it's like it's Yastrzemski. He's going to be in that. He's going to have a lot of plate appearances where he's not starting that day, but in the 8th inning, the biggest pinch hit appearance of the game is going to go to Mike Yastrzemski. The other side of the plate doesn't really have that designated guy, but they have some more options there between Murphy and Dubon and whoever else. So, yeah, that's DH. It's not exactly exciting. It's not as boring as it was previously when it was like, hey, it's going to be Marcel every day. We all know that. I do think that it makes sense to play Profar there a lot. I do. And I do also think the Braves can do a better job, and this is part of the Weiss experience. Maybe we'll see differently from Snicker, of giving guys a day. Even if not a full day to like not play, use DH to spell Ronnie to save his legs. Use DH to same thing for Riley. Like whatever. You can play Dubon at third base with his eyes closed. It's fine. Like use that aggressively to manage your roster. And days off are also fine, by the way. They should be allowed in the new era of Braves baseball. But Profar is both a clearly good hitter and also a player who is not a good defender. And that combination means you're playing a lot of DH. And we'll talk about him. This is probably the last time we'll talk about him for a little bit. Anything else you want to add about Profar? Like, he didn't hit the ball as hard last year as in previous seasons. He managed to not have to be a problem because he was elite plate discipline. Like, took a ton of walks, didn't strike out. He was actually better last year than he had been in any other season of his career other than the year before. So, like, he did regress from the year before, whether you think that's drug related or not. He was still good last year, but the StatCast, just use StatCast as a catch-all, his batted ball data was not as good. Any concern about Profar? Like, I think the systems don't necessarily worry about him. He's still got pretty good, but it was notable that he wasn't smashing the ball last season.
He's such a good on-base guy and has been his entire career. Good hand-eye coordination, has never been a big strikeout guy either. So,
no.
Yeah, as he gets into his mid-30s, do I expect Jurickson Profar to be in the MVP hunt? No. But I think he's just going to be a solid to good hitter for this team. He's going to get on base and probably, I would have Profar bat towards the top of the lineup to get him on base ahead of Olsen and Riley and Baldwin. That makes sense to me. Sure, I think there is some downside risk because we only are talking about a half of a season where he was good post PED suspension. But you know what? He's a talented guy, and sometimes it just takes a little bit longer for players to figure it out. And so, no, I'm not super concerned about Profar. I don't just put it in pen that he's going to be awesome, but I think he'll be fine. I think if you tell me at the end of the year he has a 780 OPS while rotating in the DH and outfield spot, maybe 800 OPS. I think you have to take that all day long.
You do not know I was going to do this to you. I was going to ask you about his ZiPS projections, whether you feel they're reasonable or not. And as a refresher, last year he had a 122 WRC plus. It's actually 126 if you take out the first week of the season pre-suspension, but 122. Zips takes a lot into account. Goes back a few years, history, all that stuff. They have him for this year at a 112 WRC plus and like a 760 OPS. Not a huge difference, but a meaningful one. Any thoughts about like which one of those you like last year versus Zips? I think I don't want to speak for you. 2 years ago, I would not assume is coming back. I'm not saying he can't be that player from when he had like a 140 WRC plus 2 years ago. They got him the contract that he got, 139 with the Padres. That's possible, but that's a higher end outcome for sure. But any thought about like is Zips too low or whatever?
I would probably, I mean, I said without knowing what the projection was, I think I said like a 780 OPS,
Yeah.
which is a little bit higher. But, over the course of a 600 plate appearance season, I mean,
That's like one home run or something.
right. Yeah. I mean, it's,
Maybe two.
I was going to say it's like two balls down the line going fair instead of foul, and they end up being doubles or triples instead of foul balls. I mean, it's really small at that point. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we can just bank on Profar coming back and being terrific. But yeah, I think there's nothing, even if his batted ball profile took a little bit of a step back, I think he's a good enough veteran hitter that he's going to be productive. And basically, I think Profar is going to do what the Braves need him to do, which is get on base, keep the line moving, a little bit of power. Maybe you can get 20 homers, especially hitting at Truist Park in left field, or hitting as a lefty in Truist Park where he's going to have that right field porch. Like, yeah, I mean, good season, not great.
Yeah, if you it's very convenient actually that he played essentially exactly half of the games last year. If you extrapolate out from last year, he was on pace to have 32 doubles and 28 home runs. Like that's some real pop. It's not like elite pop, but real pop. He can't really run. He's pretty slow, but I think that I think he's going to be a good hitter for the Braves.
Yeah.
Star, no, I'm with you. You can't write that in pen. He's not the level of hitter that Ronnie is or that Olsen is. But I think that there's a little bit of upside, and I think the downside is actually not very low, which is encouraging. The healthy downside. I mean, because like the biggest thing, which is funny, because he was coming off this season where he had all this pop, that I know we praised when they signed him, was like this guy takes a lot of walks and doesn't strike out, and there's some nice floor in there.
Yeah,
with a 13% walk rate, like he's going to have an on-base percentage that's very, very solid, no matter what. Like, go back to 2020. Even when he wasn't hitting for a lot of power, he has like a 350 OBP for the last 5-6 seasons. Like, he's going to get on base. It's going to happen. That helps.
Yeah. Get on base. Yeah. I think I'm going to be really interested to see what Profar does this year, especially because, last year it was just such a weird start. I mean, he played like 4 games, and then it was the Monday afternoon or Tuesday afternoon after the Padres sweep, and they were about to go play the Dodgers, and then Profar gets banned 80 days or 80 games, and it's just like, dear Lord, here we go. But yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the true offensive storylines I think we're going to be watching over the summer is just how good is Jurickson Profar.
And he was one of the few bright spots last year when he came back. So
yeah,
hold on to that as long as you can. All right, Scott. We can, I think, sign off this one more time. It's 5:00 on Sunday. So if you're listening to us to the end, we still don't know anything else about Waldrep or anything else. So please stay tuned. We'll have content. We will react to Waldrep's information when it comes at some point. Monday's President's Day. Who knows? So please stay tuned. Please subscribe to Hammer Territory, wherever you get your podcasts, etc. Scott, anything to add? And if not, where can folks follow you on other platforms other than this?
I would just really like to stop talking about injuries on this podcast.
Yeah, that'd be cool in February to not have to talk about this every day.
Yeah,
it'd be fun.
Somebody have a magic wand, just wave it a couple of times, and no. We actually, you know what? On like MLB The Show or on Madden, you can hit the button that turns off injuries. Somebody hit the no injury button, for the love of God, please. Yeah, but until then, we'll see. Maybe we're doing an emergency show soon because the Braves now have to sign somebody out of like actual desperation. Like,
I mean,
we've been talking about it, that it was a need. It is such a need now.
Give me the Zach Littell blue square now. I will gleefully record again if that's what needs to happen.
1 year, one year,
that's depressing too, by the way.
$8 million with some performance bonuses, whatever you got to do. But yes, we'll be here, rain or shine, win or lose. whatever it is. A big shout out to everybody for sticking with us throughout the offseason. And at some point, we'll have real baseball to talk about, real games to talk about.
This is important, Scott. Somebody asked, I think 2 people have asked in the last couple of weeks, how they can get the hat that you're wearing right now. Do you remember where you got it from?
So I have bad news on that front. I got it out here in Arizona.
Unavailable.
Yeah. So shout out. We do have a few listeners in the great state 48. I got it. Oh boy. I think I could tell you where I got it. I'll look. This is what I'll do. I'll try to find it online. And if I can find it online, I will drop the link in our comments, kind of, because YouTube doesn't really allow links. But yeah, it's a good looking hat. If folks aren't, it's a nice cream hat, I'm very fashion forward, Brad, as you can tell.
Me too. I'm currently wearing a tie right now.
There you go. Very, very stylish, handsome.
Straight off church.
The hard part. Yeah.
No, I saw that in the comments, and I wanted to. I'm usually the one that moderates the comments for us, for better or worse. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to ask out on this, and I forgot to do it till right now. But you're wearing the hat again, so here we are on the air. Okay, follow Scott at Scott Coleman 55 on Twitter. He's a much better follow than I am on that platform. If you want to follow me at BT Rowland, if you want to follow the show, which is much more important, at Hammer Territory, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, please subscribe to this podcast. If you are a video watcher on YouTube, thank you for listening and watching, but also please do us a solid and subscribe on your favorite audio platforms. Download the show there as well. Same thing in reverse. If you're an audio listener, I know I always say this, I am an audio podcast listener primarily. It takes 2 seconds to just go ahead and subscribe on YouTube, like the pod, hit the bell, all that fun stuff. And we very much appreciate all the support. All right, everybody, it's all we have for today. Stay tuned. We'll have much more coming up later this week, and we'll see you all next time.